So basically, this is just it's just a sort of simple dough, kind of cookie dough. I suppose it has sugar, flour, eggs, butter, probably some vanilla flavoring of some kind in there. So this is my mother. She used to beat me with that thing. No, she never did. She never beat me with any object. I did get my ears pulled a few times, but that's about it. Anyway, and I think I deserved it. But I think that last time that happened, I was maybe 37. Um, there you see her cutting the edges there just to make it look neat, because this is a German recipe after all, and it has to look neat. So we just can't have anything disorderly going on here. And there she is, tamping it out with her fingers, using some flour so it doesn't stick. We just keep rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling indefinitely and then you place the whole thing into the baking sheet thing that's no doubt made of the highest quality steel that you can find. These things are so good. I can't even describe it. Um, you'll probably never taste them, any of you watching this, which should make me sad, but it really doesn't, if I'm going to be honest. So here she's using a little roller thing that's every home pastry baker person should have, I'm assuming. And I think this is just to get out any air, I'm assuming, that might be trapped under there, under that mass of deliciousness. So this process is fairly time consuming. And I think that I didn't show the whole mixing the dough and kneading it and pounding it because, well, it's not really that interesting. So there's a lot of this goes on: cutting, rolling, tamping. And at some point here, something truly wonderful is going to happen. And there it is. This is a jar of unicorn jizz. No, it's apricot jam. Apricot jam that notice my mother is wearing a glove, by the way. This is how clean this woman is. Let's get our hands dirty, but let's wear a glove nonetheless. Yes. German mother, folks. So this is this is an integral part of this recipe is the apricot jam. That nice gooey layer of it right there. Just spread it all over. Just every corner, every crevice, every crack. Just delicious, gooey, moist, wonderful, sweet apricot. Just everywhere, all over. Yeah. So this is what this is going to do, and you'll see it later. It's going to make the edges really kind of caramelized, kind of crispy golden. It's wonderful. And this is now we're getting into the nitty gritty here, or maybe I should say the nutty gritty, since these are hazelnut bars. I'm gonna ask you not to hold that against me. Anyway, as you can see, this is just a pile of butter and sugar. Just a giant mass of butter and sugar melting in a pan together. on high heat. It looks like number 9 right there. Just going all out. Mother is going for broke on this shit right here. So it's going to start to sort of, I think the idea here is to melt the sugar into the butter, if I'm not mistaken. And this is about 400 grams of chopped hazelnuts, ground chopped hazelnuts, and some vanilla sugar. It looks brown. I don't know why it's brown, but maybe it's brown vanilla sugar. And it looks like a bit of water. Although mother deer has been known to just add some rum and things like that to these types of recipes. So I don't know. I didn't taste it or smell it. Maybe I should have. So as you can see, this is just going to sort of come together into this gooey, nutty, buttery mess. Just bubbling away there. And as you probably have guessed, it's going to be spread over the top of our dough and our apricot jam all across the top there. Once everything has been incorporated here. And I believe part of the idea of this also is to kind of roast the hazelnuts there with the butter, so it gets a roasty sort of flavor going, which, well, it'll definitely get that in the oven because it's going to bake as well. So, but maybe this is the initiation process here. It does seem to be turning brown, if I'm not mistaken. But damn, it looks good, and it is good. It's just very delicious. You know, it's hot and gooey and sticky, but I could just eat that shit right out of the pan, I'll tell you. So as soon as that is done, what's going to happen is this. You just want to dump that shit all over there like a fucking cement truck. Just dump it all over. No holds barred. Look at that. Beautiful. And then, of course, you just spread it out into a beautiful thin layer, even layer, just like that. Get it all the way to the edges, because you kind of want the edges to caramelize, which I mentioned earlier, and you'll see when it's finished what I'm talking about. So this is also sort of spreading the jam out to the edges as well. Or better yet, just use your hand. Why not? Your gloved hand does a more even job than that strange rubbery spatula thing. It's like baking with Michael Jackson over here. Yeah, so nice even layer. And at this point, you've got it all spread out to the edges there. Nice even layer. At this point, you're pretty much ready to pop it in the oven. And this is going to get baked at some kind of temperature for some amount of time. At heat. We're going to bake this at heat for time. Honestly, I don't know for how long or at what temperature. I didn't really pay attention. But it looks like about 175, 200 degrees Celsius there. And it's circulating heat with the fan, some kind of a fancy newfangled method. Look at that, beautiful. So now you want to just stare at it a lot, and because that's going to make it go faster. I think that's actually been scientifically proven. If you stare at something cooking or baking, it will cook or bake faster. Fiddle with the knobs a little bit too. This is a very advanced method here. Definitely only for pros. Point at it. Pointing at it will shame it into baking faster. And if you can actually ridicule it a little bit too, that will help. That's my mother laughing. I probably said something very funny. Oh, this is okay. Now we're a little bit into the baking here, and here's what starts to happen. Oh God, look at that. Isn't that just wonderful? That is gorgeous. It's just bubbling away. It looks like a pizza, doesn't it? Like one of them big flat square pizzas, rectangular, actually. I didn't do so well in geometry. I know my shapes. I know my shapes. I know my blocks. But look at that. That is just amazing. That's just sugar and butter and nuts and all just bubbling away. Just bubble, bubble, bubble. That is wonderful. Can't wait to dive into that shit, huh? So after time has passed, you want to take it out of the oven. I think that step is pretty self-explanatory. Place it on a cooling rack, and you won't. Oh, look at that! It's still bubbling. Ah, God, it's beautiful. That's just delicious right there. Absolutely wonderful. And like I said earlier, you can see here the edges. You see that? How that got all caramelized from the mostly from the jam and the additional sugar and the nut mass. So that is just the edges are those pieces are the best. Here's a view of. I gave that to my mom for Christmas last year. That's kind of the backyard area. Very nice, gray day. So after it's cooled for a bit, you don't want to let it cool all the way because it becomes too brittle to cut. You want to cut it into sort of squares first, and then into kind of cut it diagonally, so you have little triangles. So they're called the Nussecken nut corners and not nut bars or nut squares. And yeah, so what you'll end up here is should look like that roughly. And they're little pieces. They're like little cookies, but bars more. So they're not crunchy like cookies, but they are just wonderful. It's a wonderful, unique thing right there. Look at those edges. So now we move on to the last step, which is we're going to drizzle chocolate all over that. So you want to melt some chocolate here in a sort of a double boiler type of thing. You can see that's actually just a glass bowl over some boiling water because you don't want to heat chocolate directly, from what I understand. And now once the chocolate is melted, you can take a spoon or any tool that you prefer and you're just going to drizzle it all over there. Just like that. You can really do this any way that you prefer. I know in the past my mother has just dipped the corners in chocolate, but this year this is her preferred method, and I quite like it. Actually, it's nice. That's like a sort of semi-dark chocolate, I think. Something you buy. She got it in the supermarket. I don't know. Baker's chocolate. I think it's already a bit sweetened, but you can do this any way you want, or you can even leave this step out altogether if you like. But I personally like it with the chocolate. Adds a little extra dimension to it. An extra dimension of flavor. I want to sound like a douchebag. So this is what you end up with. Look at that. It looks like a fucking Jackson Pollock, doesn't it? It's just gorgeous. You can you can let it keep cooling at this point. You can wait for the chocolate to cool, which is probably advisable, unlike what I'm doing here, which is I can't wait. So actually, this is the this is when you want to eat it, when it's still kind of warm like this. Mm.